Oh, hello. Welcome now to the Flow State, Mastering the Waves of Life webinar by the Institute for the Awakened Mind. And today is the 15th of June, 2024, and already 16th of June. It's my Sunday early morning because I am doing this from Australia. And you can see a beautiful icon introducing the topic, which kind of already symbolically gives you a hint what we are going to talk about. Before we go, just in case if there will be any first comers to our webinars, my name is Oxana Bondarchuk. I am a certified Awakened Mind practitioner and trainer. I've been Institute for the Awakened Mind online events moderator for the last almost 9 years, 8 definitely. And I have a graduate diploma in psychology as teacher of psychology, also diploma in transpersonal psychology and background in the corporate world in marketing and finance and business training. And obviously this was official introduction. If I was asked to introduce myself unofficially, I would say I'm the one. On essential level, I'm the researcher of the orders of creation. Absolutely passionate about this, about reading the subtle realms, learning the language, and learning how to read the maps and navigate the maps of the subtle realms. So that would be my introduction in short for today. So always I will do a disclaimer saying that this presentation is based on my current understanding and may not reflect the original teachings or teachings of other practitioners of the Mind Mirror. Please feel free to research and test presented ideas and of course select what applies to you. And I have this beautiful illustration that my perspective, however big the subject and the truth can be, I can only cover that many aspects at a time, just from the angle where I sit. Of course, we are trying to do our best to level ourselves to the highest possible perspective, but I selected the things that were resonating with me. And obviously, please excuse me, I always talk a lot and I talk fast. I have busy gamma mind. To make the best experience of this program, I'll suggest we all practice, you practice active listening. But not just listening to the words, because it's reading the menu in the restaurant that wouldn't be very satisfying. So I invite you to tune in behind the words because they're actually more powerful than we think. And if you really allow yourself to receive what the words mean, to receive this message behind words, so today it may be very useful because just by listening to me, actively you invoke your senses, activate your senses, you start sensualizing, and that way you will bring yourself closer to the flow and what comes with it or how it is experienced. So I invite you to taste the words, recognize and savor the flavors behind them. For more effect, if you're a non-native English speaker, you may try to repeat or reinterpret whatever I'm saying in English in your native language. That will make more resonance. And also just do not devalue any part of the presentation. Slow down and simply enjoy every single bit of it. Don't worry about either missing out, not quite understanding something, or trying to remember it all. Believe me, whatever is important for you will resonate and stick to you, to just let it sink. So we start with the basics. What is flow state? Definition, characteristics, conditions, triggers, and some neurophysiology or neuroscience of it. And first of all, why did I choose this subject? Yeah, it's a hot topic for today, and I thought it's a logical continuation of mastering attention. It is about how we optimize our attention, right? And when I was talking about attention, if you were present at the previous webinar, it was about receiving, channeling, and investing. And also flow is directly related to common requests for the mind mirror work. Peak performance, when you want to be super efficient, or more than that, of course, and we'll discuss it today. Creative flow, you want to be more creative, or spirituality. It may sound like I feel I need to understand and connect more with the deeper levels of myself and the universe. So since what we are doing with the mind mirror is about optimizing the brain function, it implies optimizing the flow, not just in your brain. Brain just registers what's happening in your energy field. So we are talking really about optimizing the flow, general flow in our energy field. And also we have to remember that optimal states and optimized flow would mean healthier and happier life. The flow concept itself was introduced by a positive psychologist, and I mentioned his name later. But first of all, I want to read a few citations by him. And again, just savor them. Just think and try to fully embrace the perspective of the author. Success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue. As the unintended side effect of one's personal dedication to a cause greater than oneself. If we agree that the bottom line of life is happiness, not success, then it makes perfect sense to say that it is the journey that counts, not reaching the destination. Most of us become so rigidly fixed in the ruts carved out by genetic programming and social conditioning that we ignore the options of choosing any other course of action. Living exclusively by genetic and social instructions is fine as long as everything goes well. But the moment biological or social goals are frustrated, which in the long run is inevitable, a person must formulate new goals and create a new flow activity for himself, or else he will always waste his energies in inner turmoil. Control of consciousness determines the quality of life. Pain and pleasure occur in consciousness and exist only there. A person can make himself happy or miserable regardless of what's actually happening outside, just by changing the contents of consciousness. So these are beautiful citations and a chart showing that actually the income growing after the wartime and showing that it doesn't matter how much money you have, how much income you receive, very happy people, they still rotate somewhere around above the average income, but it doesn't really change it. So it's all about something internal, something we can manage from inside. So all these words belong to Professor Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It's difficult to read. It's a pioneer of positive psychology and a father of flow theory. So he introduced this flow state. So what is it? It's a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. An interesting note, when he did his research, the word flow came from the study volunteers. They said that they were picked up and carried by a current that completely controlled the direction of their thoughts and movements, and they could only relax and succumb to the flow, surrender to the flow. What other definitions or sides of flow might be hiding there just behind the very word itself? As I love the language and the hidden meanings behind the language, so this time I decided just to pick one word related to the flow, which is my native word in Russian, which comes from the word tok, current, like similar to electrical current. And if you try to decipher the meaning behind the word origin, how it's formed, you can see that it has 4 undividable characteristics. So it's about movement, flow or current, in its fluidity, continuity, so it's uninterrupted, in its totality, so it consists of subcomponents or may consist of subcomponents, and it's this engagement, immersion, or surrender to something. And to experience this, I decided to offer you a little exercise. Right now on the screen, you should be able to see 2 GIF images. And one is the image of the seaweed in the water, and another image is of the dry tree being wrecked down by strong wind. Obviously, life requires constant adaptation and change from us. So being hard is important, but it's very energy consuming. And honestly, it's only required on short periods of time when we really need to make this step forward, express ourselves, protect our boundaries. But it's not there all the time, right? I would like to introduce relaxation exercise that will help you to feel a little bit softer. So if you don't mind, I invite you to close your eyes and start with checking the tension in your body. How tense is your body? Because obviously the more hard, the more tense we are, the less flow of life we can allow or receive, right? So how tense is your body? And how rigid is your mind? It's also important because we are stubborn and we might have quite a few outdated beliefs or ideas there that might need to go away and be revisited as life requires. Let's just soft both the body and the mind. This is the exercise to practice fluidity, relax, cool down mental heat and stubbornness, connect with the environment and feel yourself one with it. You just watch the videos. Now imagine your room is no longer a room as it is, but a big aquarium filled with water. Just feel this heaviness surrounding you, and you are no longer a human body, you are seaweed. Very flexible and almost fluid like the water around you. Feel yourself in the totality of your body, fully connected and tuned and moving with your environment, with the water, the world around you, very receptive and responding. You may even mimic or repeat the movements that you saw in the GIF picture before. Just make a few, these floating, easy movements. And now please come back and just register the change of your body and mind and make a note about degree of the softness inside. So anytime you need to cool down and relax, this is great exercise to cool down, relax, which also means slow down, which is important for the state of flow and for peak performance. So we move to the next slide, and these are characteristics of the flow state. Again, summarized based on the works of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. So it's all about intense and focused concentration on what one is doing. So it's really high concentration when you're fully in the present moment. Nothing else matters. You do it since you love it, simply for the process of it, and that's how Mihaly discovered it. Artists were creating beautiful art, but then they had no interest in it afterwards. They were just enjoying and deeply involved into the very process of creation. Then, focused concentration implies suppressing irrelevant stimuli, no distractions. You're really here and now. So when I'm saying this, I again remind and invite you to feel it. You're here and now, and maybe think of activities in your life where you were feeling the flow. Just try to come up with what will be showing up on the screen of your mind while I'm reading this. Merging of action and awareness. So it's like you're no longer the actor, you are the play, you are the actor, you are the director, you are all of it. Loss of reflective self-consciousness, reduced sense of self, which is important because obviously if you are overly controlling every single step of the way and judging every single step of the way, flow is impossible. So our inner critic and judge is on vacation, and there are no regrets about doing this. You clearly know this is the right thing, I'm doing it at the right time. It's a beautiful sensation. A sense that one can control one's actions. So on one hand, it says that you reduce your control, but on the other hand, you feel this sense of direction your power and creatorship of your life, which is also important. Condensed perception of time, go into timelessness, or all the time is mine. I prefer the second one. I'm not going out of time. I become the time owner. I'm not worried about time anymore. I merge and sync with it. Experience of the activity as intrinsically rewarding. A reward comes not from external stimuli. You're not doing it for money, for appraisal, for thank you, for likes. You are doing it for the very process of the activity because you're simply enjoying it. You're not even caring about the results. But obviously, if the process is colored and structured properly, the result is going to be quite good as well. And another little exercise. I showed the picture here. You don't have to close your eyes here now. Just imagine yourself at tropical paradise beach. You're just relaxing, idling with a cocktail, just the sun and the sea and the beautiful sand under your feet. Would it be the flow state? On the first hand, we'll say, yeah, probably, especially if you had lots of hard time at work and you burned out and now you need to recover, and doing this right now really makes sense to you. But in the long run, if you run it through the test of time, imagine if you were doing it for 365 days a year, or if this is not enough, you're resting 2 years, 3 years, every single day of your life. It definitely wouldn't pass the test of time, and the sense of satisfaction and meaning wouldn't be there. I can't really say how concentrated you can be drinking a cocktail, depending whether it's alcohol or not. In some ways, I can say that alcohol and the drugs, they help you to relax, and they may mimic the flow state. But in some ways, this is more like a crutch, an artificial way of getting somewhere which you were made to achieve naturally. Focus, concentration, big question. Action awareness could be control of one's actions. You are not really active, you are more passive. So really it implies being more active than just passive, and it's intrinsically rewarding. We naturally need to act in the end, because just expressing ourselves and some tension is also a natural part of life. So flow state conditions, again, as given by Professor Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Perceived challenges or opportunities for action, neither overmatch or underutilized existing skill. The best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. If you do anything well, it becomes enjoyable. To keep enjoying something, you need to increase its complexity. What I want to mention here, that in the modern world, there are lots of kind of reductionism going on, where even the citations or conditions about flow or peak performance, they're taken out of the context and placed into narrower context. So by my presentation, I want to emphasize that the author of the flow himself was talking about basically self-actualizing as well, like other authors of peak performance. So he was talking about, as I said, acting at the limit of your ability. When we do not act, we're actually bored, right? When we act and we put a standard too high, we may become frustrated or experience a range of negative emotions, like being anxious or trying to control and all of it. So flow would sit somewhere in the upper corner, where really we have face the tasks or challenges that we are able to achieve. And then to keep enjoying life, we naturally need to grow and set new goals, more challenging goals, with increasing complexity. And as you'll see, increasing complexity of the goal will mean increasing complexity of our minds and our processing abilities as well, increasing our creativity, if you like. Flow state conditions, direction, goal. So the second condition is clear proximal goals. Again, the citation: the optimal state of inner experience is one in which there is order in consciousness. This happens when psychic energy or attention is invested in realistic goals and when skills match the opportunities for action. The pursuit of a goal brings order in awareness because a person must concentrate attention on the task at hand and momentarily forget everything else. Half a century ago, the Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl wrote that happiness cannot be attained by wanting to be happy. It must come as the unintended consequence of working for a goal greater than oneself. I want to emphasize once again, it's not passive, and we need to set the goals, realistic goals, meaningful goals, and goals that are greater than just our own pleasure and our own satisfaction, goals for the greater good. And obviously many philosophers, psychologists, whoever were talking about this, many great minds. And to the left, I'll just showed levels of biological life, organization. And I talked about it in another program long time ago, that actually we have to remember our place in the life hierarchy. Everything about life belongs to a certain level or place. So it's important to take your puzzle and not somebody else's. And like cells in our body, or like atoms, molecules create cells, and then cells create tissues, and tissues create organs, and organs create systems of organs, and in the end we have the whole organism functioning. We have to remember that humans are also like cells of a bigger humanity, or cells of a bigger nature, or like important organ, a component for the whole earth. And if we imagine the cells in your body start acting against you, which would be a typical case of a cancer, at some stage it's the program of self-annihilation. You'll be dead, right? So it will kill yourself. And I want to draw attention to this fact, that it implies to connect with something greater and higher than yourself through your goals in your activity. The third condition, direction, immediate feedback. I have to correct the title here. Immediate feedback about the progress that is being made. Again, citation. Most enjoyable activities are not natural. They demand an effort that initially one is reluctant to make. But once the interaction starts to provide feedback to the person's skills, it usually begins to be intrinsically rewarding. So we have this nature to excel, and we have this nature, how to say, the nature is rewarding us for growth, for evolution, for becoming more complex, for becoming more organized, because as I just mentioned on the previous slide, being in the flow implies we are going into more optimal state, so we bring more order or create more order. The purpose of the flow is to keep on flowing, not looking for a peak or utopia, but staying in the flow. It is not a moving up, but a continuous flowing. You move up to keep the flow going. There is no possible reason for climbing except for climbing itself. It is a self-communication. So that was his citation. And on the left, you may see this scary chart and wonder why on earth I placed it here. So I borrowed the chart from the work about living systems and in general, the goal setting. And if you look at physiology of living systems, you can look at it as the rules or orders of life, how life in nature is self-organizing. And you will see that what happens is that living system sets the goal, and goal is not something abstract or direction for actions and energy to flow. It's the result with certain parameters. So it's there in the end. And how nature works, the result is not taken out of the blue. It's based on the feedback from environment. And for life, obviously, the main goal would be to survive and evolve, right? So how the living system can adapt to the existing environment, how a living system can procreate. And there will be continuous after the goal, after the parameters for the result are set, the living system will continuously cross-check along the way if these parameters need to be adapted and revised based on what's going on around. So feedback is extremely important, and just the word itself, it's feeding back. It's an incentive in itself just to exercise yourself or exercise life through yourself and feel encouraged for living better and living healthier and living happier. Isn't it a beautiful idea? So here is the summary of these conditions or antecedents. Precedents, these are antecedents of the flow state. Perceived challenges, opportunities for action that match existing skills, clear proximal goals, immediate feedback about the progress that's being made. A little bit of neuroscience of the flow. There is tons of information. There are tons of information available, of course. So I just decided to simplify it to maximum because obviously neuroscience will simply support all of these conditions and characteristics that I just named. It's just the kitchen, the background. So what happens? Intrinsic reward. Motivational systems activity will go up. So related to reward, this dopaminergic system. On the right, you can see the relators, neurochemistry involved. Dopamine, I'm sure everyone knows, this pleasure, feel-good chemical, which can be quite addictive, involved in movement, memory, and attention. Then anandamide, which is bliss molecule. It's naturally produced inside the body opiate, involved in pain modulation, mood regulation, anti-anxiety, antidepressant properties, neurogenesis. Isn't it beautiful? So we progress, we enjoy ourselves, and at the same time, it's addictive. Then norepinephrine, noradrenaline, stress hormone involved as well. You need to be concentrated, but not too much. And serotonin, mood stabilizer, emotion, natural pain blockers again. So you have natural mechanism in charge that help you to be stable, naturally high, and even block your pain. So what else is happening? Task engagement networks will go up because yes, we need to be focused, but not excessively controlling the situation. Attentional networks go up. Yes, our attention, like we are fully on, right? All our ears, eyes, and all our sensory channels are participating. We are holistically, so to say, participating in the activity. And then self-monitoring network, which is mostly related to prefrontal cortex. This is our judge, critic, and mind chatter is going offline or significantly reducing its activity. Okay, that was part related to the flow, and I want to move to the next part because often what is called flow or related to the flow may be also called peak performance. So let's see what's in common, maybe pick the differences, and of course look at awakened mind or high performance mind, the work we do with the mind mirror and role of alpha brainwaves. So definitions and principles of peak performance, the following. Peak performance, reaching the highest levels of performance and achieving exceptional results in sports, psychology, business, and of personal development. In simple words, you can say at your best, in the zone, or you can also say this is when, here is a little formula that performance would be you are realizing your potential to its maximum with minimum interference. So let's see what's related, what principles are involved. Motivation and intrinsic rewards, same story. So you're simply driven by genuine passion for the activity. Goal setting. Setting clear, challenging goals that provide direction, motivation, and a sense of purpose. Purpose is important. We don't want to drift with no direction. We still want somehow to apply ourselves. And obviously, spirit landed on earth and wants to manifest, create, express, and exert some influence and see the results of this influence. Challenge and skill balance. Challenges are matched to skill levels, avoiding extremes, causing boredom or anxiety or frustration. Same story. Feedback and adaptation. Continuous feedback to make necessary judgments and improvements. Same story. Preparation and practice. So this goes more into the realm of training sportsmen, where your performance should be predictable. Deliberate, consistent, focused practice and preparation are critical to refine and develop skills. Mental toughness, ability to withstand pressure, overcome adversity, and stay focused on goals. So that's also something new which comes with training and desire of predicted high result. Visualization and mental imagery, mental rehearsal of performance to create a mental blueprint for success. So here we can see that it's not really the principle. We jump to something which actually can facilitate the peak performance, one of the what to do things on the list. Optimal arousal levels, optimal level of arousal, being alert and focused but not overly anxious or stressed. So we talked about it, but just in different words. It's focused, concentration, but not overwhelming one. Resilience, ability to bounce back from setbacks and seeing it as opportunities for growth and learning. It's just managing the bumps on the road, again, for predicted result. And team dynamics obviously only relates to group sports or group activities. And for that, we need effective communication, trust, and teamwork, where everyone can exchange clear, honest feedback. And that's also basically comes from how life operates through continuous, honest feedback, allowing systems to adapt. Okay, so peak performance, and where did that come from? Or mostly it's mentioned in relation to another psychologist, Abraham Maslow. So he is best known for his hierarchy of needs, where self-actualization stands on the very top, overriding more basic survival and recognition needs. So he studied human motivation, self-actualization, and was talking about peak experiences. So he describes it as the emotional reaction in the peak experience has a special flavor of wonder, of awe, of reverence, of humility and surrender before the experience, as before something great. So this would be something different, because obviously it's this moments of, again, connection with the highest purpose of yourself, with the highest version of yourself, with actualization and the wholeness of yourself. So I'll read through the list of conditions required and invite you again not to see it as a dry list as a menu in the restaurant. Try to feel the word, maybe draw an image in your mind, and also think of an activity where you might have experienced it. Integratedness. Person in peak experience feels more unified and whole. That is, they feel less fragmented and dissociated. Oneness. The appreciator of the music becomes the music. The astronomer merges with the stars out there. So even though we feel more ourselves in a peak state, we simultaneously transcend ourselves, going beyond our selfhood to an egoless state. Experience of peak power. Yes, obviously feel the power of yours by applying your skills. Non-forcing, effortless and ease, being versus doing. And you might be acquainted with this concept. Some may call it non-pushing, not doing. I'm not doing, I'm being. I'm sure you know that joke. And then it goes to middle way in Buddhism, and way of Tao, or in Taoism, in these ancient traditions. So it can't be forced, let's put it this way, so it's non-violent. Then self-determination. Yes, there should be this passion that would allow you to stay on your goal without deferring or going back. No presence of inhibition, fear, doubt, or worry. So in other words, you remember the formula: interference is out. So inner critic and judge, who usually it's our beta brainwaves for those who know, but we'll arrive to brainwaves later, is out. It's out of job. It's on vacation. And we feel fully confident. So beautiful feeling. Spontaneity versus mental rigidness. Creativity. Timelessness. Individuality, no masks. So that's where you express your true self and not just the personality or self that you think you have to present to the society to be liked and accepted and approved. Merging of I and other. Unmotivated by needs, so you're driven by higher goal than just survival only. Artistic expression, or sometimes it's called poetic expression. Completeness, or in Jungian terms, it would be wholeness. It's something that we all are craving and looking for. It's also playfulness and surprise happenings. I briefly summarize because we can get stuck here for a long while. So a little bit on self-actualizing individuals. He found that such individuals have peak performance experiences with far greater frequency. He defines self-actualization as the need to become what one has the potential to be. The need for growth leads us to an ongoing actualization of our capacities and talents, the fulfillment of our mission or calling, self-knowledge and a full acceptance of nature, an unceasing trend toward integration. So the more we invest in our own natural development, the more chances we have to have a peak experience. So I'll be repeating myself probably a few times along this presentation by saying that knowing your nature is very important, non-violating your nature is very important, and then aligning your natural callings and abilities and skills, talents with the big picture, integrating it into a bigger context within the whole life hierarchy is the path towards peak experience or the flow experience. And once again, we see it's not just about efficiency, it's not about pleasure, it's not about easy doing, right? Moving through life with ease. It's much more than that. It has this hidden idea about natural self-stimulating mechanism for growth and evolution. And here we come to our favorite Anna Weiss, the pioneer of the mind mirror work, a student of Max Cade, who invented the mind mirror. So she was a humanistic psychologist who expanded research beyond spirituality healing and was measuring brainwaves of artists, composers, dancers, inventors, mathematicians, scientists, businessmen. Spent more than 6,000 hours watching people's brainwaves to understand how they relate to individual states of consciousness. Due to her research right now, we have a map of consciousness that will be introduced shortly, and EEG monitored meditation training to teach people how to navigate their mind to access desired states. So in her book, The High Performance Mind, she wrote, it's very interesting what self-actualized people are like, or high-performing people are like. So awakened people are self-actualized high achievers who are often at the top of their professions. These excited, enthusiastic, and successful people enjoy a high experience of life that is filled with peak moments of bliss. No matter what their spiritual orientation, they know how to quiet the mind, go within, and master their brainwaves for creativity, insight, healing, and the joyful, fulfilling life. Awakened people, pay attention, at the same time are compassionate, empathic, and helpful, warm, kind, peaceful, and balanced. They are receptive, insightful, and do not criticize, judge, or blame others. Nor does the awakened person attempt to control the thoughts or actions of other people. A person with an awakened mind is naturally devoted to love and service, arising from a deep, heartfelt devotion to humanity and God, or divine consciousness. A really beautiful picture drawn with words. Sounds like ideal human. I guess that's where we all want to be. And now a video that most of the old participants would have seen many times, but I love it. So just have a moment of reconnection with Anna Weiss and her voice.
The high performance mind is when you are at your most creative, your most awakened, your most productive, and your most aware. Your mind is sharper, quicker, clearer, more effective, and you're really on.
I hope you enjoyed that little bit. So here we arrived to finally the brainwaves. We talk about the flow, and flow to me, it's probably energy flow, right, as well, the flow of life. And it can be split or measured. And as I mentioned before, flow implies its totality, but it may be comprised of subcomponents, so to say, or subcurrents, substreams. And brain would be the device, inbuilt natural device that registers what's happening in our energy, in our field, with our flow, and brain waves would represent it in this or that way. So here, just to give you an idea, these are the waves. The waves could be of different frequencies. And the truth is that we don't come as a ready package into this world, right? We come and we go and jump through the levels like in the computer game. That's why I put this second chart next to the waves descriptions. So we come and as babies, we spend lots of time sleeping because the primary goal would be to grow and finish the development of the physical body. We're developing and growing really fast, and it requires lots of energy resources. We don't have big brain then yet because it consumes lots of energy. So we need just to finish building the basics of the body and the brain. So it's this repair mode, deep sleep mode, delta, it's very slow. And then that would be dominant up to 2 years. That's now you understand what's in common in between our deep sleep and the babies, dominant brainwaves. And then we go level up, we speed up a little bit more and into theta, and that's the brainwave of a REM sleep or deep meditation. And it's in between 2 to 6 years, and it's very, how to say, so we are very, very open to external programming. We are white sheet, and we absorb everything as given, as is, as truth. We don't have any judgment then yet. We are just pure sons and loves, and imagine the kids of 2 to 6 years. They are like that, unless they start copying their parents. Then just my point is that we speed up gradually, and it comes as like levels being unlocked with access to high frequencies that we are able to access and generate. So alpha would show up in between 6 and 12 years. And then after these days, it could be earlier. And alpha is the brainwave we'll be talking a lot about today, because it's the borderline between what you know, what's unconscious, and your conscious mind. So it's the beginning of consciousness, right? And then we develop level up to beta. So when we got full grasp of our body, our emotions, alpha develops our, how to say, sensory system and the brain to next level to allow critical abstract thinking, good logic, proper behavior control, etc. All this controlling unit and planning and goal achieving unit of beta, which starts 12 plus these days, maybe earlier 10 plus. That's the go, just to show you it doesn't come in one, and these are levels that unfold according to their schedule in their own time. And gamma, I would say it's even faster than beta. It's okay, you arrived to your mature self. That would be, I call it energy restructuring of the system, major upgrade, processing system upgrade, or spiritual awakening, or Kundalini awakening, where basically you need to awaken to your spiritual self because you covered all the levels below. Anyway, this is the map of consciousness introduced by Anna Weiss, and these are the brainwaves as we see them with the mind mirror dancing on the screen. So delta would represent the slowest, it's in the very bottom, that's the vertical scale, shows basically the speed. Frequency is the speed. In simple words, I guess it's easier for you to understand this way, the pitch or the speed, and the volume would be shown horizontally. So the loudest brainwave will dominate in the orchestra and basically play the leading role in this brainwave orchestra of our mind. So delta, unconscious mind, here is quite moderate. It would be dominant in deep sleep, a restorative sleep, in healing, as I said. Theta, subconscious mind, you can see a little bit more than delta at times. That's our memory, repository of stuff, good stuff, bad stuff, wisdom, creativity. And I should probably say, after working with mediums, we always look at this map, as I used to look at it, at least as individual map of consciousness, until I realized, after studying also systemic family constellations, that spirit realm embraces more than our individual subconscious mind, and the program's default settings, all our values sitting there in theta, are not just truly just individual, but largely inherited from the family system and from our ancestors. Equally, like we inherit our genes, and nobody's questioning that we are comprised of DNA of our mom and dad, somehow we never think that on subtle levels we equally inherit all the programs, all the, not all, but basically it comes from somewhere, and we do have heritage and this ground, the starting point, the default settings in us for this lifetime, including transgenerational traumas, including maybe these skills and natural talents granted to us, maybe because some of our far or close relatives really worked hard on this in their lifetime, and that's why we are good cooks or beautiful piano players. Sorry for this little note, side note. Theta, subconscious mind, and that's where we connect with our own, these hidden default settings, programs, blocks, attitudes, values, and can connect with the family stuff as well, and connect with deceased family members or spirits, as shown by mediums. So level up, we see in green, the dominant one in this is alpha bridge. So bridge is really important. Alpha stands not just for the bridge, I'll talk more. It's the body, it's our senses, and it's really the beginning of consciousness that links subtle realms of spiritual realms or frequencies of theta, delta with our conscious mind, externalized beta mind, and it's like tip of the iceberg. That's the one that we use to live on Earth. That's how I, after all these years, can put it in very simple, maybe generalized words, but it's right, roughly right. So it's all about verbalizing, conceptual thinking, orientation, and navigation through this material reality, goal setting, control of our behavior, all of it, decision making. It's all about beta conscious mind. But look, it's still just the tip of the iceberg. And as I showed previously and explained previously, beta is very energy consuming, as prefrontal cortex is most energy consuming. So we can't be online all the time. We need to switch off and sleep and recharge, because otherwise we'll go completely mad. Beta runs on slower frequencies, and that's why we rest. So let's remember that beta, it's just the very tip and the top and the very youngest in terms of how these brainwaves evolve in the hierarchy. Okay, as I said, the dominant brainwave will determine the state. So here, the top, the fastest beta brainwaves are playing the main role. This is the ordinary pattern. At our normal ordinary state, waking state, beta waves dominant in both hemispheres. At the same time, if we take meditators and spiritual teachers in meditation, these fast beta brainwaves would go away. So if they're too much of beta, we are talking about monkey mind, inner critic, anxiety, and maybe even panic. So it's disorganized pattern, obviously, and we remember for the flow, we need to have better, more complex organization. So in this pattern, you can see no mid-range alpha or theta, delta, radar-like empathy or psychic awareness present in most people. So bottom of the pattern, our subtle realm is off. We are disconnected from it. We are totally locked in our beta mind, locked there, box. Beta is dominant of the Taoist, so that's what I really like, called this acquired mind, conditioned by our environment. Literally what you are talking about here, you're boxed just within limited space of all the conditions downloaded in you during your upbringing. And it's just the memories of what happened. And it's really a sad picture, because we can only relate to what we already know, what we once experienced. And instead of connecting with the world, not just mentally, which is very superficially, we basically are locked on our bodies, sensations. On deeper levels, we are locked away. We are not interacting or relating to reality in the fullness of it. So look at this one, meditation pattern. We rarely talk about it, but meditation commonly is associated with silent meditation, where you go beyond thoughts. And you see really flat beta reduced to its bare minimum, and obviously lots of alpha and lots of theta and delta, which sit below the line of consciousness, below alpha. So this would be silence, but what we really would like to be having a closer look today at is awakened mind pattern. So that's where we bring back some beta, but not too much, just as an observer, just to register what's going on all the realms. Though we show these slower frequencies of alpha, theta, and delta especially, we do not fall asleep, right? We stay still awake. So I guess that's how the name explains itself, awakened mind. We have eyes open, we are conscious, and we are aware of what's going on deeper levels of ourselves. So as if you were a multi-story building, now you know you have more level than just one floor, and now you can go and explore all the floors of your own building. So this would be the pattern of flow, of high performance, sensory awareness, our high experiences and creativity that we were talking about so far. The first one to come up with the pattern was Max Cade. And the idea was that, as I mentioned, he brought back beta, some of the conscious mind back to meditation mind. And the formula would be, or the ratio, because again, there is an order, there is harmony or balance. And this ratio is beta should be 1, alpha should be double of it, and theta 1.6 of alpha. And clearly you can see that all of the frequencies are governed by this middle one. So alpha is the dominant, alpha is the head of the orchestra. And alpha allows this openness or the flow to happen so that there are no bottlenecks and the energy can flow freely and the communication becomes possible. So all brainwaves are involved, they all play their role, their function, and we can access any level of it. Okay, here are a few pictures. Some of you may have seen them, but again, metaphor, it's a good illustration. When we are boxed in our mind, running thoughts, same tracks each time, it looks like this. The doors are firmly closed, no perspective. And then as you open alpha, you suddenly find the whole world behind the doors, and it's beautiful. The whole world to explore. It's really freedom, right? Freedom from ourselves, freedom from all these limitations, limited beliefs, and maybe outdated views and opinions and attitudes, showing the world, the true world is bigger than our mind. Or another beautiful picture illustrating this freedom and kind of relaxation that comes as we open alpha. Comes relaxation through literally all the levels, your body, your mind, as a bird out of the cage. So imagine yourself going up, flying high. It stretches your perspective to another level, and it's definitely more freedom and another sensation from life. So I just covered these two patterns here, ordinary state and awakened mind state that we associate with peak performance or flow state. And last time, if you remember, I showed this slide already. So that's what we train. We train to slow down, get rid of unnecessary beta interference, and get closer to our potential, to the theta, and connect the two. Connect who we are on the earthly realm with who we are on the spirit realm, or as spirit on earth, and reorganize it and keep opening all the bottlenecks. If we continue further from flow state, we'll arrive to oneness or unity state, symbolized by this circular pattern called evolved mind. What we were talking about last time when discussing attention, we were talking that attention can be measured, and looking from the negative side, attention deficit, we discovered that healthy attention would be a healthy ratio between beta and theta. Beta, conscious mind, me as separate unit of material world, the projections of all my memories, and theta, subconscious mind, me as a fractal of spirit, present moment or eternal moment. And all of this is mediated by alpha, body bridge, literally sense maker. We are sensing with our 5 senses, sensory channels, and then we are making sense. So it becomes conscious, and it becomes grounds for our actions, for our behavior. So let's explore alpha a bit more, since this is the key training brainwave for the peak performance or for the flow. Without alpha, this wouldn't be possible. So first of all, it's called alpha because actually these were the first brainwaves discovered, and EEG world, electroencephalography, started with discovery of alpha as the main rhythmical dominant wave in healthy adults, so ranging between 8 to 14 hertz. And as shown here, it starts its development from 7 years old and finishes around 12 years old. And to give you an example, like why it's not allowed to let kids cross the street until they're 10 years old, simply because they don't have proper alpha developed yet by then, and they can't make judgments or estimates or orientate themselves, because beta is orientation in the earthly material realm, so they can't make this time-space orientation adequately. With alpha, they can. In healthy adults, the dominant band, the dominant frequency would be 10.5 hertz, and it changes with age, and it's actually indication of your maturity and cognitive performance. So if it's normal speed, optimal speed for your brain, and as we age, our speed of our brain slows down, it becomes more sluggish, but it can be trained. So along with beta, it's an index of maturity and cognitive performance, or knowledge-based consciousness and behavior control. I just gave a good example to explain that. How does it contribute to peak performance? So it assures, when dominant, that we are in this relaxed, detached, calm focus with no excessive thinking or anxiety or stress. So alpha and beta, they work hand in hand, and alpha regulates how much energy, you can say here below, you'll see switch pace lever regulating the flow of our attention, how much energy goes internally into the subtle realms, theta, delta, or externally into beta. So this way we can zoom in and zoom out, and this flexibility is ensured by alpha. So it's gateway between conscious and subconscious mind. It's also our body senses, or I also came up with this metaphor, link between earthly, material, and subtle realm frequencies. Again, other contribution, increased creativity. Yes, we are opening to theta, we are opening to more than we already know in our conscious mind. That's how we have this flow, and we can create something we haven't done before, seen before. Reduced mental chatter, suppression of irrelevant stimuli. So alpha is also in charge. It's actually the main function. Recognize what's important, what's salient, and suppress what's irrelevant. That allows this focus, concentration, and ignoring of whatever doesn't matter. Improved learning and memory. Yeah, obviously it gives this sharpness, and it also participates in memory retrieving, unpack the information from theta memory storage, theta library, and bringing it up to beta for recognition. Neurophysiologically, it sits in the center of limbic system, or literally in the center of our brain. And it's thalamic, cortical thalamic. I'll talk about it in a minute. And function, there will be more next slides, but briefly, context recognition and adequate and timely response. Suppression of irrelevant information or actions. It's about attention, perception, memory retrieval, time, space orientation, arousal. So all of it covered already. And let's see in more detail. So it's like timer or pacer for the brain. And it's related to these aha experiences, creative flow, whole body activities. Talking about indicators of alpha, we are not using this, but I borrowed this slide from my other program, where basically we can compare what is being looked in clinical neurofeedback world and see if by any chance this comes up in a session with the mind mirror. We can make a few assumptions, or just look, have a closer look and explore. So for example, when we close our eyes, we assume that alpha amplitude will increase 50% eyes closed versus eyes open. This is absolutely normal reaction. So it means we close our eyes and our attention goes inwards. As I said, alpha is like a lever, inwards, outwards, internally, externally. And if it opens, we are fine. If it doesn't open, we may ask about traumatic stress, poor retention of information. So usually this would be a sign of stress when alpha disappears. So that's why here I put this picture again of the ordinary pattern crossed out, ordinary and saying trauma. You close your eyes and then suddenly I've seen it only once. And yes, the feedback when I asked the question was, yeah, there was a big trauma, and obviously the person knew what was going on, though I didn't expect to see that. And then brain efficiency would be alpha peak frequency. If it's dropping below 9.5 hertz, we talk about mental sluggishness, so the brain slowing down. So what's going on? You're just tired, you didn't have enough sleep, and that's why you can't keep up with the high speed. As I said, high speed is very energy consuming, so you have to keep your tanks full and go into good deep night sleep to recharge your batteries to be able to perform well on high frequencies, because otherwise you wouldn't have energy to run on these high frequencies. So that was a short note that the flow of life, if we can associate alpha with life, and we can, as you'll see later, is being blocked by trauma. And this is how it can be measured, the fullness of it, the fullness of life. at the same time. So alpha is the key in regulation of arousal, organization of information, orientation in time, and goal-directed behavior. And during consciousness, a continuous dynamic interplay between alpha and other frequencies is defined by their harmonics and golden, as defined by their harmonics and golden mean relationships, exists that facilitates or prevents the concurrent activation of neuronal systems. Let's put it this way. Alpha sits in the very middle of the brain, as I said, in thalamus, and thalamus is the relay for sensory processing. And it has these projections, sensory projections that continuously send information about all incoming stimuli, internally or external stimuli, to the different parts of cortex, which make sense out of it, right? Can decode and understand what's going on and take action, responsive action. So you can see these projections to the brain, so that's alpha. And the interesting fact is that the borders of other brainwave ranges can be determined by finding golden mean 1.618 frequencies relative to alpha. So it's central, and as I said, it's this head of the orchestra that orchestrates other frequencies in the brain, the time or pace keeper. And to me, peak performance means we are ready, we are flexible, we are open, alert to do the right thing in the right time. How do we recognize the right context and do the right thing by blocking out the wrong distractions or wrong movements, even wrong actions if we don't need it. So all of this is regulated by alpha. So once again, basically similar story. I wouldn't go too far and too deep. So here you can see just another drawing of these projections. And thalamus acts as a gatekeeper coordinating the timing and distribution of information to the rest of the cortex. Each thalamic nuclei projects to specific portions of the cortex, which in turn project back to the same thalamic nuclei, which form a feedback loop. So we are talking about this feedback. Alpha thalamic cells have intrinsic ion channels that allow these cells to oscillate at approximately 10 Hertz, excitatory to cortex activity when at equilibrium. Alpha would keep the normal good speed or pace for the working mind, defining harmonics for other frequencies. And then it would mean we are slowing down. So any excitation is inhibited. The opposite would be if we get more excited, more aroused, that would turn into beta, and we basically are wiped out, hyperpolarized. We can't get aroused anymore at all. This deep delta sleep. So in some ways, even other frequencies can be interpreted as slowed down or sped up alpha. Okay, attention, alpha functions. When we talk about attention, largely it is associated with inhibitory nature of alpha, like spotlight, interface or buffer with the external world. So these are all alpha functions. Perception filter, stimulus relevance, anticipatory and temporal attention. Then I mentioned already memory retrieving, orientation in time, space, arousal, performance, all these words mentioned. So I just keep flipping. Few more things, because when we talk about peak performance or training peak performance, once again, or flow state, the same, we talk about better organization, more optimal organization. In terms of brainwaves, it's measured through coherence, and coherence is a tricky word, so I'll decipher it a little bit for you. It means waves get more organized, they stick together, in phase. It doesn't always mean that the peaks and valleys they match, but they can just be repetitive and locked together. And more phase stability for longer time means more information can be shared, which means basically efficient work of our brain. And synchrony would be exactly this specific case of coherence where peaks and valleys do synchronize and match. So thus alpha synchrony training for peak performance and mental fitness would be one of the main protocols if we talk about clinical world. So you'll ask me examples, how can I achieve this flow. How can I boost alpha? And I picked up a few slides from my meditation club meetings. Last year we had a session devoted to heart math techniques, and I decided to hook a person up and see if they are working. So look what we found. Awakened mind before the techniques was like that at 60% on level 6. So for those who don't know these levels, don't worry, just look at the number. It was that much, or look at the picture and see green bands of alpha. And then look after heart math, during heart math techniques applied, alpha grew 10% and more, so 75, 89. So it's truly impressive. And look how beautiful it is. It's clearly we are looking at this double alpha compared to beta, and maybe not enough theta here for true awakened mind, but for alpha is definitely there. So if you're not acquainted with heart math techniques, feel free to explore or get the session. So this is just another way of displaying the same brainwaves in the form of wave instead of bands. And you can see the test before, there were just random peaks of alpha, and during heart math techniques, look how beautiful and steady green alpha wave is. So it's good illustration. On top of that, I just was speaking about coherence, or this better organization, synchronization. First of all, we are talking about like the whole brain, left and right hemisphere, but really it's the whole brain. So when alpha gets symmetrical and synchronous, it is associated with improved memory, better mood, clarity, heightened creativity, and relates to somatosensory attention and mindfulness. So these are the charts that we use in the mind mirror to measure coherence. So if 0.8 here allows us to see where the coherence sits within which brainwave range, and then to see if coherence was changing over time of where it was sitting. So it was clearly sitting above this high level during heart math techniques, and it was sitting way below. If I drew the line, it would be here before the test. To me, it's just a visual representation that the brain is coming into more optimal state and better order. I put this here to remind you that if you are really into neurophysiology, want to dig more, I made this series of programs about all brain waves, their origin and function. So you're welcome to watch it. All the videos are in our video gallery and YouTube channel. And let's talk more about alpha triggers. What else helps us to generate alpha? Here is a slide from one of the clients. Here you can see alpha on the baseline, and here you can see alpha when he was prompted to withdraw from the thoughts. We have the whole meditation by Anna Weiss that trains to do that. So alpha production opens. And then look, here is more. Relax the tongue. It's a classical trick that I'm sure everybody knows by now, because when we think, our muscles in the mouth move, muscles of the tongue, they move, even in the back of the tongue, maybe slight movement. If you relax that, that helps to block your thought process, your thinking through physiology of your tongue. And then, of course, breathing. And then there was an exercise where you were writing down your thoughts so they don't distract you, and then withdrawing from your thoughts. So withdrawing from your thoughts clearly with this green wave leading, it's the leader of all. But as you notice, breathing is one of the things that helps to increase alpha. So here we come to a little exercise, breathing exercise. I call it elongate your breath wave exercise. So our life is about changing the cycles, right, of tension and relaxation. It's like inhale and exhale. So we relax and then we act. We equip ourselves, fill out the tanks, and then we move, and then we act. So our life starts with our first breath and ends with our last breath. Breath clearly will always be the indication of our life energy flow. So right now, you may close your eyes if you like. If you don't feel comfortable doing, that's up to you. So right now, focus on your breath. Not just focus on the breath as breath, but allow yourself to reconnect with the flow of life within you through your breath. And if you walk in with your breath, or if you see or imagine your breath being drawn in the form of waves, like maybe the brainwaves that I showed, the very first slide with the brainwaves where they are depicted as waves, could you elongate these breath waves? Could you emphasize your exhales and make them longer? Could you pace your steps or your breath waves more evenly? Let the air coming in take more space in your body, going the whole way down to your belly. Feel this air coming in. Feel the spaciousness inside of you. Feel these longer waves, like waves of the ocean. You inhale and exhale. And remember that any time you feel stressed or boxed in your mind, you can elongate your breath waves. You can use it to breathe away any negative thought or pain. Use your breath. Breathe through the pain. Blow away the thoughts. And even in the toughest times, when you're in a hurry, when you don't have time to meditate, make one long exhale your shortest pocket meditation. And always exhale everything that doesn't serve you anymore, that you don't need anymore, thus helping you to get lighter and get rid of what you don't need and enter the flow. One long exhale, one breath. You can always allow yourself one breath, right? That was it for this little exercise, just to take away with you to reconnect with the flow of life. And let's explore more of alpha triggers. So I pulled another slide with the sensualization exercise that I did, and you can see that for this particular person, the highest alpha peaks were, so basically the dominant sensory channel would be smell. And by the way, you probably know why animals have the strongest smell, and smell had the shortest kind of circuit in our brain. It travels faster than other senses to our brain. So if it smells bad, don't do it, don't go. Even if it's indirectly smelling bad, it's your instinct telling you, inherited from the animals, that it's not something right. It's all about something bad. Then whole body experience, any holistic body experience. And then we often do animal meditation. So when you imagine yourself as an animal, animals live in a flow state basically all the time. They stressing only around humans, if humans are stressed around them. And somebody wrote a question about dolphins to me in relation to flow state. I don't know that much about animal brainwaves, and dolphins in particular. I know they're very smart animals, and they do beautiful things through their frequencies, healing children, healing people. But just imagining yourself as an animal sometimes can trick your mind and take you into this state of beingness, not doingness or strugglingness, which would be more beta, blocked, locked state, not flow state. So animal is another key, animal experience. And in relation to whole body movement wins, I put it here. So look, I pulled out the dynamics from the sessions with one of my clients. And after doing sensualization exercises, I picked a few, say, key activities that generated best scores and then decided to test them in secret. I was just measuring brainwaves and asking him to think about one activity, second activity, and third activity, and then give him the feedback, what is the winning activity out of this all. So for this particular person, cycling, look, all the scores, awaken, AM stands for awaken mind. Out of all the sessions we've done, him thinking about his favorite physical activity involving the whole body would kick him in a very high and beautiful state. I can say flow state. Awaken mind, 93. Evolved mind, 80. It's the highest score out of all the sessions. And gamma synchrony, it's basically same awakened mind with faster gamma brainwaves on top, so 95%. So all the scores were the highest. After illustrating this, I want you to do another little exercise, whole body exercise. For better effect, you may close your eyes, but it's not necessary if you feel uncomfortable doing that. So think of any body activity you enjoy most. The activity that involves movement of the whole body, not straining, but enjoyable, and the one that makes your blood move, that brings joy of life flowing through you. It shouldn't have rigid movements like in the gym or aerobics. It has more freedom or spontaneity in it. So feel doing this activity easily, sliding or flowing. It could be walking, cycling, dancing, swimming. So imagine yourself doing this. Imagine yourself fully enjoying your body in its totality, in its movement, in its exercise. And to enhance the experience, you can imagine doing it with your favorite friends in the best setting you can imagine. And now you may come back and remember that you can look at the picture, by the way. The picture shows mountain skiing person sliding down. And that's exactly what I often see in my dreams. And it's this sensation of ease and sliding and flowing, which is important. So remember that this is the exercise that will take you to a more optimal state. And when you're facing a bump or some, I don't know, abrasive phase in your day, moments, this is the exercise that could help you to break through and rebalance and open the flow. So I called it whole body exercise, or literally any whole body activity that you truly enjoy. And here I put together alpha landmarks list summarized from my meditation club sessions. So landmarks, they are the same triggers. So it's one of the core concepts in biofeedback and awakened mind training. It could be a word, phrase, image, symbol, concept, or body sensations that is produced by the meditator's subconscious during meditation as a representation of a felt state of awareness. So it's a trigger or a key, the key that opens or leads you faster to the state. And interestingly enough, I decided to just slow down and analyze frame by frame, analyze the responses of our brain to the guided these prompts in the meditations. And besides what we already know from Anna Weiss's teachings, from our training, I found quite a few more things that Alpha was responding to. So let me read this list to you and just tell you that just you imagining these things right now as I'm reading this will also help you to open the flow. So Alpha responds to letting go. So we're letting go of control in the first place, right? So beta is relaxing as we're letting go. Receiving, flowing, open, allow, accept. So this is interesting. It comes with being open and acceptance. Then breathe, anything related to breath, be it in breath, out breath, inhale, exhale, anything related to relaxation and rest, anything related to our 5 senses and prompts to sensualize, taste, smell, and vision, any movement, relation or mentioning of the body. Then feel emotions calm and clear, opens good big alpha. Then, very interestingly, the word life, vitality, health itself, as if alpha knows that it's all about life, vitality, health, would trigger alpha to open or to open more. Again, flow and change, happiness, friendliness, and then such word in itself, attention, perception, imagining nature environment, then anything we enjoy, place, activity, or relationship. Then this connecting movement, I called it reaching out movement, when we are getting in touch, communicating, reconnecting, it's all happening through alpha. And then the very word time and present to yourself would be about alpha. Power within, which I thought is relevant to the flow, is more relevant to alpha theta. It's more relevant to that evolved mind, to the next stage when we have more theta and less bottlenecks. A few more pulled out slides just to illustrate that. Just response to attention. I know it may not be accurate, but when you see it so many times again and again, and with consistency, it starts making sense. So strong, when we talk about survival versus creation, survival, lots of beta on the left, no alpha bridge. Creation, look, more balanced brainwaves left and right, in the left and right hemisphere, and alpha bridge started opening up, and slightly more, not slightly, even significantly more if you compare theta in the left hemisphere. Significantly more theta. So feel the difference. Just the words itself, they trigger responses in you. Best friend. Oh, beautiful alpha. And look, I emphasize here amplitude, or the loudness, 24 microvolts. So alpha is 3 times bigger than any other frequency group on this snapshot. All others are like 6 microvolts. Alpha opened up to 24. Best friend, thinking of difficult situation versus feeling of ease. Thinking of difficult situation, beta increasing, theta dropping, feeling of ease, and that's the feeling associated with the flow state. Alpha plus theta go up, and we start approximating the circle, so we are opening the bottlenecks, right? So this means approximation of evolved mind. Flow from highest intention. I found it beautiful as well. Stay with the flow of your highest intention. And obviously the brainwaves would be dancing. They're not static, it's a dance. And then it would be returning to this diamond shape, approximating circular shape of the oneness state or unity. So all of this, what you saw, they were taken from the slides used for illustration of the HeartMath Institute, were taken from Enter the Flow with Heart meditation session. And then we had EFT meditation, emotional freedom technique meditation by Dawson Church, which is also a good tool. And Gary probably could talk more about that, since he is working directly with EFT groups and measured many brainwaves of those. So that's one of the ways to open and train your flow states. And then you might be interested to watch Anavai's protocol. It's one of our webinars explaining like what's the logical order of brainwaves that we train and how we train. And then peak performance with the mind mirror. Obviously, you can read more about it. If you want to train, you can find a practitioner or a coach, do it individually in a group setting. You can self-train with the mind mirror. We have preset neurofeedback protocol like beta reduction, alpha synchrony. That would be the first on mind to be used. You can do it via protocols or by training, for example, meditation pattern, which means no beta if you have very busy mind and lots of mind chatter, and then train awakened mind itself. And we also have biofeedback meters, which measure your pulse rate. So similar to HeartMath Institute, we do our own measurements of heart rate variability and have a resonant frequency breathing pacer. So we can measure what's your best rate to optimize your heart function. And as I showed before, HeartMath techniques and connecting with the heart does open yourself to the flow. Then you can train with or without the mind mirror, with the classical training meditation albums, or simply meditations for alpha production and awakened mind. And then I invite you to come to meditation club with the mind mirror, where we each time not just meditate and try a new meditation with beautiful music and guidance, where I also remind how brainwaves operate and show the reports and these beautiful slides, and we discover more connections of how our language and brain work, just to double check and confirm that if we go to clinical neurofeed, protocols for peak performance would be again alpha training, so where we enhance alpha and decrease theta and high beta activity. So it helps you to make decisions quicker and efficiently, remain in calm and focus, so exactly peak performance. And also we train sensory motor rhythm. We don't look at it with the mind mirror, but it's low beta brainwaves associated with alert attentive state coupled with calm and silent motor activities, while decreasing theta and high beta waves. So this is important for maybe sportsmen more, where their body has to be, how to say, alert, aroused enough, and ready for movement, but not tense, not like under pressure, right? Flexible and ready to start. So when it's, motoric precision, balance, and ability to relax are important. So what helps to enter the flow? I put few things, but I wouldn't even stop on it now because I mentioned them. I want you to come up with your own list, and I'll share the presentation. I want to jump straight to the very last bit, a few very tasty slides, a dessert for today. It's integral energy perspective. It's my favorite one. I'll talk a little bit about Ken Wilber and key principles of energy perspective, and my own kind of definition of flow to summarize all the material from today, and a couple of alternative views on how we enter and sustain this flow. This will be taken just a few slides from the program Wake Up and Grow Up that I did last year during Meditation Club. And probably some of Ken Wilber already. So he's a great visionary thinker, literally genius, integral theory of everything. So he combined spiritual, scientific, philosophic traditions all in one. He's master of drawing tables and charts, so nothing is left behind and everything is integrated. To put it really simple, I will skip to this slide and say that his main integral approach is about all-embracing and transcending principle. So if we look at our brainwaves, it will mean that, as I explained in the very beginning, we start with delta and we gradually unlock different levels, or we move to faster frequencies. We are able to operate on those frequencies. But as we grow, we don't cancel previous levels. We still embrace them and transcend them. In optimal performance, we don't knock out everything that happened before. We have properly integrated delta with its role to play, theta with its role to play, alpha, and beta. In some other way, you can say that we still have the child inside of us, inner child somewhere. We still have a teenager, adolescent, and adult, and we embrace it all. One doesn't cancel the other. So I absolutely love this integral principle, which also shows that nobody is better or worse. It's just a stage of development, right? And there are certain time periods when we will be testing and assimilating this or that frequency, this or that energy, but it will come in its own time, like how children learn to walk in their own time, or to talk in their own time, or it's quite logical, right? Or vegetables mature and ripen depending on their type. So there's nothing wrong about that. And clicking back, I want you to reconnect, because since we are talking about flow, and flow is also connected to happiness, just a quick moment about happiness from Ken Wilber.
The definition of suffering is life lived apart from spirit. And the definition of happiness or fulfillment is life lived as spirit. It's the same life. It's the same universe. It's, are you one with it, or are you separate from it?
And this separatedness, he came up with his own 5 states. And I took the courage, so it's just my hypothesis, let's put it this way, of how what he is talking about can look if we apply it to known patterns of the mind mirror. Look, ordinary pattern looks like this. Ken Wilber is talking of the normal waking state as gross state, where we identify and focus on physical realm, possessions. So beta is dominant. And then he identifies Turiya, empty witnessing, or true self, extension of focus to timeless and eternal supreme identity, where big I is aware of the small I, where you are the seer, so it's closer to the awakened mind. And then the next stage after that would be, as I said, even more openness, less bottlenecks, more oneness. So he called it Turiya Tita, pure non-dual unity, or awakened wakefulness, no separation between the seer and the seen, one taste. I've done this. And the main thing that we have to remember, because we are talking about state so much, which I think is ignored and which was brought into attention by Ken Wilber, and I'm very thankful for that. It was brought in his integral meditation book, or integral mind work in general, where he emphasizes that as what we are looking at as these stages of consciousness, states of mind, obviously they are very old. These thousands of years of practice of connecting with the one, or with supreme identity as the final goal. We train the states, but states are important, but it's also important to look at not only waking up, but look at growing up, where we look at the structure stages of consciousness. So let's put it this way. You can show beautiful patterns, but you may still be stuck on the human level with social problems, relationship problems, or other stuff, simply because you get stuck on lower levels of your maturing, of your growing up, because at different stages we relate to the world in different ways. And the goal of maturing up, growing up, is important because it's about more developed, mature, inclusive, and healthier person. So what happens in his world, in his integral meditation, is that he advises us to analyze and transcend those structures. Let's put it this way: default settings of our mind, default programs and limiting beliefs that are no longer working for us. They have to be refreshed and re-updated. as we move through life. And here is a bit crazy chart, absolutely, I know. But what I personally didn't like about peak performance, because I found that there is a flavor of just the structure which sits not very high in the hierarchy. It's achievers or competing Superman world, which still implies that there should be winners, there should be losers. I'll have superpowers, I'll do meditations and mindfulness training to beat my competitors and be the best. So there is this unnecessary war going on, where one of the highest stages of maturity would be the stage, integral stage, systemic stage, where basically there is nothing wrong about any stage below. It's just still below, and there is still way to go. It can be transcended to the level where you are spirit as a living force. So I just leave it there to sum up, because we're running out of time. And this is, as I said, mature, more systemic. It's accepts significance and value of all previous levels. It's integrated, holistic, systemic, more sophisticated, more complex. And as we move from less complex to more complex, more organized brain functional structure, that's part of our evolution. And it's still holding open to any future developments to accelerate the coming of new age. So I'll just leave it there and show, like, look, keep in mind that life is really a flow of this creative source energy. We don't generate it. We receive it, transduce it, and transmit it further. So the more life we are able, the more energy, the more flow we are able to receive, and the more with less distortion we can digest it and channel it and transmute further, the easier our life's supposed to be, and more enjoyable, richer as well. So creation, to me, creativity, it's a natural quality of expression of life energy flow, where love wants to bind things. Life and love, they come together. Life as electrical current, love as magnetic field created around this current. And life wants to create and try more and more iterations, experience with new forms, with new applications on the earthly level, and grow its perspective. And I absolutely love this illustration by Alex Gray. So look, it's an open channel above, and where it's going, and it will be related to the final exercise that I'll ask you to do in a moment. So attention is our main tool, a magic wand that helps us to direct the flow of our life energy and amplify what we want to amplify. So all these concepts are summarized in my program, Energy Reading and the Mind Mirror, available in the video gallery and YouTube channel. So I wouldn't stop here. Health, as would be balance, and closely connected to the very notion of life itself as well. It's like flexibility, where there is nothing stuck, permeability, high receptive capacity for the flow of life, which comes also with responsibility, adaptability, and creativity. It's basically healthy. That's what healthy is. And the definition of flow from integral energy perspective, to me, would be alignment with the high order of life love flow, circulating maximum of energies with least distortion, being co-creators or manifestors on material realm. And in one short phrase, I could put it as, I am on my path, I am taking the full volume of the channel who I am, or you are in a flow when I'm in a flow and my soul is singing. All of this implies we know, we sense high order of creation or life principles. We recognize our place in the interconnected hierarchy and order. We comply or agree with these principles. We sense the trends where life is flowing now. And understanding our earthly and spiritual nature, our talents, we make best well-balanced use of the given resources for the best interest of all life. So we remain flexible, open, ready to learn, adapt, transform as life changes and requires. And as a result, we enjoy the support from, I don't know, higher realms, coincidences, experience more luck, easier growth. And it's not only about state, right, brainwaves, but also content, right? So it's all embracing integral vision, highest perspective, and our place in it where we know our direction, our purpose and meaning. We are 4 minutes late. I hope you will allow me maybe 5 more minutes. I'll do my best to talk about this because I think this is extremely interesting. Alternative views. I showed you that trauma represents blockage or interruption of flow of life, thus making us shrink and reduce our ability to receive and transmit energy or adequately respond to stimuli and face life challenges. So this is exactly the statement borrowed from systemic family constellations on life and love flow. And how to make sure we are sustainable, how to make sure we are in the flow. There are a few steps there, or I would say there are different energies that we embrace, different levels that we unlock. So these are the levels. I really can call it the circle or the cycle of energy, circulation of the flow of energy in life. So first, we need to learn to relax. And these are first years of our lifetime. Recharge, we take energy or feed in, we connect with earthly energies, we get hold of our body, and then we need to build trust, rely, trust the world. We are open to receive the feed. It's our zero chakra open. And then wish, desire. So what happens next? We take in, and then we feel the spark, the spirit spark within us that drives us for creation, wish or desire. We not only allow this to enlighten or kindle us, kindle the fire within, this internal, internal energy device inside of us, let's put it this way. Then we need to learn to express the desire, take it outwards, ask for help, and it's symbolic to reaching out, hand movement. And then whatever comes back, we should allow ourselves to receive what's coming back in response to our desire. Appropriate, recognize ownership, attribute, and also recognize our power that we just exercised in doing this and achieving certain results. And then as we achieve these results, we can share, we can pass on our gains, energy, experience, wisdom further on. So this way you can clearly see it's really circulation of the life flow like that. We receive, and then at some stage when we are ready, we pass it on and go to the next level and go to another kind of spiral turn. And obviously, after definition of health, we know it's imbalance, and imbalance, distortion on any level would indicate problem with the life flow circulation. So this was one of the alternative views. And another beautiful alternative view comes from psychoastrology, which basically tells the same. We come not as a ready product. First of all, for birth theory, we bring to this world something deeply unconscious, inherited from our family system, or maybe previous lifetimes. And we don't start from scratch. We open the book from the page where we stopped in the previous lifetime, if you believe in reincarnation and the soul. First birth, yes, we are physically born into this body, and first 3 years we learn, unpack the energies to relax, to trust, to adapt, to survive. And then we go through the second birth, and it's another level unlocked, where we separate from the mother, where we learn about our unique self, and try to discern, discover the spirit spark inside of us, what's valuable for us, what we can do forever that will energize us. It's exactly that key secret, I don't know, call it natural calling, that takes you into the flow and returns you into the flow and sustains you in the flow. And confidence to, yes, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is what I desire, even though my mother and maybe my family even is against it, I am still going to do it because this is who I am. And then the third birth goes to another level. It's about social adaptation, where we have to know that within the existing conditions, we need to limit ourselves and take on responsibility and discipline, and probably achieve some results in adaptation to the social world in some career or business. And then as we move on, somebody might call it mid-year crisis, 36, 38, you're being weaned out of earthly energies. Your vitality, your life pace will be slowing down. But then this is a new task, the new level of this life computer game for your soul that came into this world to start self-actualize and actually fulfilling the life purpose or the life mission. And there will be new energy resources coming in that can be seen as something negative, or they can be seen as just greater powers available to you if you live in high conscious life and you know how to use them. You are ready to ride these powerful horses. It makes your life more interesting and keeps these new challenges, makes you running like new heights and new levels, more complex, more powerful. So the very, very last thing I want to say, the very last exercise, I called it Life Energy Flow Check Exercise. So key question to ask at any time: where to and where from is my energy flowing? You may think of any desire of yours or any project. Like, for example, me preparing this presentation today for this program, it was a good thing to ask, where is the seat of consciousness generating this? Is this energy coming from the enclosed space somewhere inside my body? Is it my mind? Is it my heart? Or maybe it's somewhere else in the body. So personally, when I feel small, I start searching where in my body, locating in my body, this locus of consciousness that's trying to act in the moment, and move it, open up to the spot above my head. So to me, it's like opening the channel. So when I shift my attention, when I shift my locus of consciousness above my head, as if I'm opening up to receive and to channel from something greater or bigger, that's when I know I'll be doing and delivering the right thing in the right time, in the right place. The final question: are you coming from your smallness or highness? When you feel something is wrong, you can realign it as I just described to you. So this is a beautiful question that can always help you sort out the truth for yourself, regain confidence, regain the flow, and also test others around you, how small or how high, how big they are. So that was it from me today. I'm sorry for taking more time. I'll stop sharing. And if you have any comments or anything that you'd like to ask me or share, this is the time you can do it.
You did a brilliant presentation, and I was very impressed, as usual. I hope you don't mind if I steal some of your slides. I love them, and they have a lot of information, good information there, particularly about the awakened mind. It is a good way of organizing and presenting it and explaining it that I hadn't seen before. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Gary. This was very kind of you. You're welcome to join again. We'll have Meditation Club next Saturday. Join Gary's program on Awakened Mind Training. Goodbye until we meet again.